O land of soft, fresh breezes, O verdant trees so fair, with the Creator's glory reflected everywhere. O sea of palest emerald, merging to darkest blue. Whene'er my thoughts fly Godward, I always think of you. Verdant island set in blue Caribbean Sea, I'm coming very soon. Oh, beauteous Isle, to thee, although I'd wandered far, my heart enshrines thee yet. Homeland fair Cayman Isles, I cannot thee forget. The national anthem shall remain standing. God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen. God save the Queen. Send our victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save the Queen.
Thank you very much, everybody. Please be seated. So firstly, I'd like to acknowledge everyone sitting on the platform behind me. Tonight we're meeting for the West Bay CDP members. So we have the Honorable Mr. McKeeva Bush, who's running in West Bay West. And I have to thank him for leading us in the national song and national anthem just now. And let's not forget, he is the party leader. Thank you. You hear that? They're calling for you to be the next premier. That's it. Also on the platform, we have Mr. John Jefferson Jr. running here in West Bay South. And we have Mr. Captain Eugene, who's running in West Bay Central. And we have Mr. Bernie Bush, who is the deputy chairman of the party, deputy leader of the party, Mr. Bernie Bush, running in West Bay North. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call Mr. Charles Whitaker, aka Killer, to speak a few words.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me say it's a pleasure to be home here with you guys again. I didn't come here tonight to make a whole bunch of noise, but I want to make a whole lot of sense. So I don't want you guys to hear me. I want you to listen. You know, because we must admit we have been guilty in this country of hearing and not listening, looking but not paying attention. I have been around politics my whole life. Believe it or not, I can remember 2 years old in 1976 being by the West Bay Town Hall with my mama, and she was so excited. And the CDP bit my sister on the toe. And she said, "Oh, mama, the pain going through my toe." I was 2 years old. That's how long I have been around politics. I have paid attention because I believe that it was and is important that we do. And in my years in this country, I've always voted, and I have never seen a group of people like the people that have run this country in the last 4 years. A group of people who have worked harder to oppress you. They have put the kind of policies in place that does not build stagnation for this generation, but it builds it for generations unborn. We have never seen, ladies and gentlemen, a more hateful and racist group of people than the people that have run this country in the last 4 years. I am honored to stand on this platform, CDP, because this is a government. They say a team is only as good as its leadership. Well, this is a government. This will be this has always been a government for the people, by the people, and with the people. And that's what the CDP will be again come May the 24th. If the public goes out and do the right thing. And if they don't, God help us. No, it will be a lot worse. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at some of the differences between the two parties. The PPM is now saying, re-elect us, and we will implement trade schools, we will work on education. Well, let's look at those two areas. Remember I told you I want you to listen to me. Check it out. When they took office in 2013, there was attempts being made already in the trade school department. As far as Superior Auto, we had 42 young men who went to Superior Auto. And I understand that all 42 of them today have jobs. That was implemented by the Democratic Party, by the Honorable Premier, along with the support of his party. We had Mr. Alan Moore in plumbing, teaching our young Caymanian people who choose to learn that trade, or electrical. The PPM got in office and they stopped the program. But now they tell you, elect us and we will implement it. Ladies and gentlemen, they couldn't build on a program that was already in place. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled, ladies and gentlemen. Look not at what they say, but look at what they did. You had 4 years to look at this administration. As far as education, well, through the Nation Building Fund again, we had children who were already in university. One of the first things Education Minister from West Bay did, along with the rest of her PPM colleagues, was to kick those children out of university by cutting their funding simply because they hate McKeeva. Do you know why they hate McKeeva so much? Because McKeeva loves you, the common people of this country. And they don't like anybody that like you. This is and was and will always be an elitist government. The PPM has always been an elitist crowd, and they will always be. They are for a privileged few among us, and their full support is predominantly for the white expatriate community in this country. Look at the legal practitioners bill. This was equivalent to the court allowing the rapist to be the jury in his rape case. They allowed the same people who were discriminating against our people to write the bill, and they had the audacity to bring it down to the House of Parliament to try to pass the bill. Thank God, everybody band together and fought them on it. Even after I understand they made some 80+ amendments to it, it still couldn't get it passed. It was still so horrible. These, ladies and gentlemen, are not people that represent the best interests of this country. The policies that they have put in place are the kind of policies that build crime, that build poverty and pulverization. If you are concerned now about crime, let them get reelected and you will see how much worse it will be, because their policies and their mentality is that their enrichment and the enrichment of the elitist crowd, of their elitist crowd, those that they favor and the privileged few of us among them, must come at the impoverishment of the masses of the people. But sometime in about 2013 or 2014, at my house in Florida, Alden and I had a text back and forth going between us. And I told him, I said, you arrogant fool, you believe that you're going to create a society and where only you and the people you have are going to succeed, the people you and only the people you want are going to make it. But that's not going to happen, because you see, when you're the only one in the neighborhood who can pay your light bill, those who don't have will look upon you and they will come and take it. That is the kind of Cayman that they will build and they have been building. This is not a government. We have never had a more elitist, a more hateful, and a more racist group of people than the PPM administration. And you can tell them that it wasn't said by the party, it was said by I, Charles Edwards Whitaker. Tell them I said so. And ladies and gentlemen, we have to go out this election. Those people in your community that you might not have spoken to, you need to speak to them and you need to talk to them and try to get everybody out to vote a government that is going to work to level the playing field and work for the masses of the people of these islands and not for a privileged few. Because if this type of system, this apartheid type system that Alden and his government have been running in this country in the last 4 years continue, they're going to run this country into the ground. We're going to be overrun here with crime, because that is what pulverization and pulverization, which is what they were implementing, will create. Now let's take a look at the housing bill. I told you I want to make some sense. Now, they criticize the former Democratic Party, the UDP that was, because was it how much million max for the housing? For when you save the mortgage? We took $2.5 million and said we were going to use this money to help Caymanian people save their mortgages, which was the right thing to do. It was the godly thing to do. It was the caring thing to do, and it was the humane thing to do. But they criticized it. Especially Marco Archer, he criticized it up and down. He criticized it up and down. He said that most of those people lost their homes anyway. I guarantee you he has no statistics to back that up. I guarantee you that he has no statistics to back it up. But here is the reality. When the housing crisis got worse, and it got worse during their time, and I'll tell you part of the reason it got worse. You remember one of the first things they did also was to fix the rollover policy so that the people that they worked for could remain here and retain those jobs that many young Caymanians coming out of college could have, and some who have been out of college for many years now, underemployed or unemployed, could have been doing. But they did not worry about them, despite, remember, before they got elected, they were talking about Caymanians and unemployment. When they got elected, one of the first things they did was fix the rollover policy so some could stay, the people they want here could stay and retain the job. But not only that, they criticized our party also on the status grant so many years ago. But yet, they fixed the policy, extended the rollover policy, so these 1,500 people would now be able to apply for permanent residency. See, ladies and gentlemen, the hypocrisy. And who supported, we're going to get to that, and who supported them, because we got some people here in West Bay telling you now that they want to work for you, but I'm going to get to them. Marco said that we are going to get an advisory committee to tell people who knew already that they were losing their homes and that they were struggling to pay their bills. That was what he offered as compared to Mr. Bush, the Democratic Party, that put up $2.5 million to help people keep their homes. Where will these people land? They will land on the doorstep of government, which will create greater burden on the population. But they don't care about that. But hey, check this out. I want to show you something. They did not, he said it was not a mortgage scheme to help people keep their homes. Government was not in that business. But yet some other Caribbean island got hit by a natural disaster. Now, my God, I am not against helping anyone if we can help them. But when you pass up your own people and take $500,000 of your people's money to save other people's homes in another country, what he was saying to you is not that he wasn't interested, they were not interested in saving people's homes. They were not interested in helping Caymanians. That is who they were not interested in helping. And his actions, the actions of the PPM showed just that, ladies and gentlemen, that it is you they were not interested in helping. Now, ladies and gentlemen, and I got much more time, but we got two candidates here in West Bay, one in West Bay North and one in West Bay West. In 2013, I was proud of them. They was fighting against that extension of the rollover policy and that 1,500 people. And they were up in arms about it. They got to the people, and the people galvanized with them and organized, and they were going to have a march. And then all of a sudden, the PPM invited them to caucus. And they came out of that meeting and turned their backs on the people. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about Paul Rivers and Mervyn Smith. Now they tell you they want to fight for you. But ladies and gentlemen, remember I told you, pay attention. Don't be fooled. Watch what people do. A picture's worth 1,000 words. A picture's worth 1,000 words, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't go into 2020 with the PPM in charge in this country. Dog will be better than most of our people in this country if we allow Alden McLaughlin and his group of tyrants to be re-elected. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever you do, go out and vote, and go out and vote for the CDP, and not just the CDP in West Bay, but the CDP across this island, and elect Austin Harrison Prospect. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of you say, I want McKeeva. Well, you can't have McKeeva Bush as premier if you don't have Captain Eugene, and if he don't have John Jefferson Jr., and if he doesn't have Bernie Bush, and he doesn't have the 5 in Georgetown, the 2 in Bordentown. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to go out and elect a government that has proven itself that they will work for you, that they care for you, and that is the CDP, ladies and gentlemen. Vote straight for the CDP across the board. Thank you. It was a privilege having the opportunity to speak with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Charles Whitaker, he is no stranger to this community, and we know where he's coming from. And can you help me let him know that we are proud to see where he has made it? Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. Our next speaker tonight is our candidate for West Bay South, Mr. John Jefferson Jr. He is a graduate of Morgan State University and a past member of the Legislative Assembly of the Cayman Islands, serving from 1988 to 2000. His experiences include serving in the civil service as a budget officer and bank inspector of the Financial Services Department under the leadership of Sir Vashel Johnson. He was also the first budget officer of the Cayman Airways Limited, and his experiences in the Cayman Airways business community are well known as the original franchisee of the Wendy's restaurant and Domino's Pizza. In his home district of West Bay, John was an outstanding team player with the other representatives and served his constituents with great devotion and commitment. Help me welcome to the mic, Mr. John Jefferson Jr.
Thank you, King, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure for me to be here with you, and I want to talk very frank with you tonight. You know, last Monday night we had a debate here in West Bay. Tyra Rivers was there, and Laurie Young, and Burns Rankin, and myself. And I dealt with the issue of pensions for the foreign expat, okay? I said nothing about our local pensions. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, and she grabbed that and ran with that, thought she would make something big out of that. If you don't know me by now, as far as me taking care and having an interest in our local Caymanians, then you don't know who I am, okay? Believe you me, we discussed this. When it comes to pensions, we're going to look at that law, look at the possibility of bringing funds back onshore, because I heard our leader mention a statistic recently that the fund lost something like $200 million over a period of 4 or 5 years. You know, that is ridiculous. When we have all these needs here in the Cayman Islands for mortgages, budget funding for government, that we could get a decent return on our funds. And also, you'll still be in a position where you can borrow from your pension account or fund to help these first homeowners build their homes, okay? So don't let anybody make you believe that I don't have your best interest at heart, okay? That is the furthest thing from the truth. And I heard somebody mention tonight that she's walking around saying that she got West Bay South whipped or won. Let me tell you, if Tyra Rivers beat John Jefferson Jr. in West Bay South, there's something wrong with that. It will never happen, ladies and gentlemen. Mark knows, me and him was involved in many battles in the Legislative Assembly. Trust me, I'm a fighter, okay? And from the day that I was chosen as a candidate for Cayman Democratic Party here in West Bay, I've been fighting. I've been visiting. I've been out there making sure that I know what your needs are, okay? And trust me, after May 24th, I will be elected as the candidate for the West Bay South constituency. I was one of them in 2013 that voted for Tara, because I said, well, here's a young lady, is intelligent, she's qualified, and, let's give her a chance. She did absolutely nothing with that opportunity. Nothing. Nothing. Okay? Talk about what she did in education. I understand she visited the Cayman Islands High School, the John Gray High School, twice in her term. When you are a minister, you are in charge, okay? How do you determine what the position is if you don't go out among the people and visit those institutions that you are responsible for? One day I was there with Rena because she was a substitute teacher at John Gray, and she was coming in, I think it was during reading week or something. She would come in and read a little poem or whatever to class. It takes more than that as education minister to make a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, she has failed, and she has failed miserably at what she was responsible for. And according to Mike, when Mike ran in 1988 against me, but once we were elected, we were colleagues from West Bay. She refused to sit with these boys who are your candidate, your representative from West Bay in the Legislative Assembly. Refused. And now come talking about she has your interest at heart. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. And also, how in the world is she going to now pretend that she's an independent after running 4 years with PPM?
Yeah,
and keep them alive. Huh? Ladies and gentlemen, don't be fooled. Okay? Don't be fooled. And one thing she has going for her, she can talk. Oh, she can talk. But she gets nothing done. Okay? She doesn't get anything done. Believe you me, after May 24th, and I have no doubt this can happen, the Cayman Democratic Party will be elected as a majority in the Legislative Assembly. And once again, the Honorable McKeeva Bush will be your next premier. You know, Mike and I have always had a good relationship. Even when we were not running on the same ticket, we always had a relationship. And you know, I remember when he was before the courts, something said to me, he said, John, today it's Mike, tomorrow might be you. So you better stick together. So I made a commitment that day. I said, you know something? From here on in, I'm going to be with McKeeva Bush. You notice I didn't decide to run in West Bay this year until I was sure that I was going to be with Cayman Democratic Party, because that doesn't make sense. What they want to do, they want to divide you and control you, okay? But that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And what Charles was saying about the PPM is absolutely true. Over the past 4 years, I remember one day we had a problem down on Cardinal Avenue. And I decided, okay, well, let me call Moses. He's in charge of tourism. I called, I left a message, no return. I called his director of tourism, no return. They have no time for nobody other than the privileged few that supports them in their campaign. They have no interest. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't even consider anybody in West Bay other than the Cayman Democratic Party members. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I want to deal with a very important issue that a lot of our Caymanians depend on for a living. That is the area of tourism, okay? And you know, tourism is one of the main pillars of our economy. The other one being financial services. And tourism spans a number of important areas such as medical tourism, sports tourism, and all the other areas. But what I want to talk about tonight is your traditional areas of tourism, such as the water sports business, cruise tourism, stairway tourism, and also the hotel and condo business, okay? When it comes to the water sports business, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, Stingray City, for example, is one of the major tourist attractions, not only in the Cayman Islands, but in the world. And it was started by our fishermen here, right here in West Bay. The late Captain Marvin E. Banks, Captain Crosby, Captain Frank, and others. Okay? Captain Otis, yeah. And what happened, because of them doing what they did in that area, the stingrays naturally came. Okay? So it became a huge attraction. And it makes me feel good, ladies and gentlemen, when I go out there, and it's only occasionally, because I don't know about you, but I don't like stingrays, you know, walking all over me and stuff. But it makes me feel good when I go in that area and I see our Caymanians who make a living from that business taking care of our visitors, okay? And we have to, ladies and gentlemen, I have no apologies for being in a position where I stand up for Caymanians, okay? Why should we have to apologize? It has what happened if we don't take care of our own, and there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance, okay? We have something like 125, 130 different nationalities that live work among us here in the Cayman Islands, and we all live in harmony. We all live in harmony, okay? But in order to keep that harmony in place, you need to make sure that our Caymanians have their fair share of what's going on. Okay? So when it comes to the water sports business, and especially the Stingray City area, North Sound, I believe it's time for government, and I'm going to try to convince my colleagues here, and a lot of them support what I'm going to say. There has to come a time when we control that area for Caymanians. Okay? How I would do it, I would require that anybody that operates in that area that's a Caymanian be a part of a water sports association. The reason for the association is because if you have an association in place, then association can determine fees. Okay? What's happening now? Captain Eugene might charge $30 for taking a passenger to Stingray City. Bernie come behind, offer $10. So they're cutting one another's throats in that area, and nobody is really making any money, okay? But if you, as a group that operate in that area, is a part of an association, and you say, okay, well, here's the fare that we're going to charge. If you want to go to Stingray City, this is what's going to cost you. Because let me tell you a little secret. The only people who are really making money out of this business is the cruise ships and the big foreign companies that operate here in the Cayman Islands, okay? They go to the cruise ships and they cut a deal. And a lot of times, the deal is bigger than they can handle, okay? But just out of greed, they cut the deal and then they give the crumbs to the small Caymanian who don't have that kind of influence, right? No, we have to limit the activity in that area to Caymanians. Only, okay? And you have, like I said, require anybody who operates in that area to be a part of the association. If you don't have an association, if you're not a member of the association, you can't operate in the North Sound. Okay. The association would also make sure that the equipment that's used in that area, by way of boats, whatever, are properly, equipped. They're insured, got a liability insurance in place. And also the association is in a position where they can market the services of the association members. Okay? So that is what we have to do, ladies and gentlemen. We have to do that in order to make sure that our Caymanians get their fair share of what's going on in the North Sound. And I would also require, and I was talking to Sean earlier, and it is in place, I would require that every operator in that area have a permit, okay? And only those who have a permit can operate in that area, but you also have a patrol in that area to make sure that the rules are complied with, okay? I would limit the big boys that going in there, talking about red sails and the others, they're going to try to gobble up everything. I would limit the number that they can carry to that area on a daily basis, okay? The other thing that we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, and Mark and I have fought for this since 1992, I think it was, 96. If you go into any of those hotels along 7 Mile Beach, the only company that's represented in those hotels is Red Sails. We negotiated with the hotels at one stage, and they said, okay, we're going to put a rack up so your local boys can put their brochures up in order to get business as well. What they do, when our local boys go and put brochures on the rack, take the rack and put it in the back so nobody knows what's going on. They can't see it. They have to be in a position where they are monitored. And not only that, our local boys, through the association, should have a presence. They should have a desk. They should have somebody employed there who are going to be promoting business for them. Right? So, ladies and gentlemen, when Tara Rivers talk, but I don't have your interest at heart, don't believe it. Okay. The other thing, when it comes to cruise tourism, millions of people come here on the cruise ships every year. Every year. Okay? But numbers don't mean that our boys and girls, our ladies and gentlemen who are in that business are making a whole lot of money. You know why? Because what's happening in that area is that the cruise ships are booking even tours to the beach. When we were there in 1992, we made sure that the cruise ships understood that that business was to be left to the independent taxi and tour operators. And up until today, those taxi operators are still saying, you know, back in those days, we had more business than we could handle. All right? And that is the position we want to get back to, where we sit down with the officials from the cruise ships and say, you know something, here are the rules. We don't mind you coming to the Cayman Islands, but here are the rules. And our people have the benefit like everybody else. Okay? So we need to put that in place as well. I don't know how many of you visit public beach, but you need to do that at least once or twice just to get an idea what I'm talking about. What's happening at public beach right now? You got your tour operators and your taxis who are charging $5 from the cruise ship port to the beach. Okay? What has happened? The cruise ship directors have told their people now, you can walk to the middle of town and take a bus and charge $2.50. Okay? So what's happening now? There's a war going on public beach between your taxi and tour operators and your local buses. Okay? That has to stop. You're making little enough money now. Now you got to settle for $2.50 rather than $5. I think the way to handle that is say, you know something? Even if a cruise ship passenger, and you might agree with me, but this is where I think, a cruise ship passenger walks in the middle of town and say, I want to go to the beach, that bus operator say, okay, but it costs you $5. There you go. Okay? There you go. You finish. You finish. And the other thing we need to do with regard to that business, we need to put dispatchers on the beach. You want to come there around 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you see what I'm talking about. They are the beach, back to the cruise ship, back to the cruise. You know, no, man. The Cayman Islands are not known for that kind of business. Okay? You do the same thing when you're leaving the beach as you did when you were leaving the port. You line up orderly, and as you line up, the first in line, loads and gone. And you do it on the line. That is how we do business here in the Cayman Islands. And it has to be controlled, okay? Has to be controlled. And the other thing to keep in mind is that some people there are not good ambassadors for tourism or the Cayman Islands. And those people, I'm guarantee you, will lose their license on the Cayman Democratic Party government if they continue that kind of nonsense, okay? We can't afford that. We really can't afford that, you know, ladies and gentlemen. So there's a lot to be done as far as tourism is concerned. And those are some of the things that I think we should do. Where we should really be focusing when it comes to tourism is our stay-over tours. They come here, they probably stay a week to 10 days. They rent taxis, they visit a restaurant, they spend money. Those are the kind of people that we should be encouraging here in the Cayman Islands. I was told the reason why, in order to encourage that, you need additional capacity, accommodation-wise. Well, we got it. The New Hampton was just opened recently. I hear there's another 5-star on the way, maybe 2. So you shouldn't run short of space. But that is the area that we should be encouraging. What happens, ladies and gentlemen, if your cruise ship passenger has a good experience when they visit here in the Cayman Islands, they normally come back as a stay-over tourist. And that's what we want to encourage, okay? But, ladies and gentlemen, there has to be rules in place. There has to be rules in place, okay? So, and ladies and gentlemen, I didn't think much about medical tourism until I visited Health City some time ago. Let me tell you, one thing I can say about our leader, the Honorable McKeeva Bush, the man has vision. The man has vision, okay? Because the Health City is an asset to the Cayman Islands. I mean, you go up there, they're busy. Them boys are busy. And not only that, they do an excellent job. And one of the things I would like to encourage once I'm elected and part of whatever we're doing, I would like to encourage government to sign an agreement with them rather than send people to First Baptist overseas. Send them to East End. If the specialty is available there, why send them not overseas? Okay? That is very expensive because they not only the patient normally goes, he carries a family member or whatever, and then you got accommodation and a whole bit overseas, right? Do it right here in the Cayman Islands. Let the money circulate right here in the Cayman Islands. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we have something special here in the Cayman Islands known as Cayman, okay? We are a special destination. And there's a lot of talk now about, and we talked about it for a while, about cruise ship docking and the whole bit. Our government will make that decision once we have looked at the facts and we have gotten input from the operators in the industry, and we are convinced, when we are convinced that it's the right thing to do, then we will make that decision. So, ladies and gentlemen, be confident that we will do what is right for you here in the Cayman Islands, and we will take care of you. You know, I had a young lady, this was back in between 88 and 2000, when I was a member. I was down at my office, and I had a young lady come to see me one afternoon, and she was a Jamaican national, but she was married a Caymanian. And apparently the husband had walked away and gone Florida or somewhere, and she was staying with her in-laws, and they put her out. They said, well, we need a room or the house because we need to rent the place. So he said, Mr. Jefferson, you know what we do? He said, I have 3 children. And what I do, me and my children sleep in my car. We go to the nearest water hole the next morning. We take a shower or whatever. I got my kids ready for school. I take them to school, then I go to work. Okay? That is still going on here. It's worse now than ever before. With all the homes that are being lost in this country. We have to do something about that. Okay? Because what happens when things are tight, you would expect the banks to be in a position where they work with you. But I am not convinced that it's not a conspiracy going on between the banks, the lawyers, and the real estate agents. Okay? You know, so trust me, that is an issue that has to be addressed once we are elected May 24th. So ladies and gentlemen, keep the faith, spread the word, because we need your help, and there's no use of you saying we can vote for McKeeva without voting his party, because McKeeva can't do anything by himself, okay? We need, like Charles said, we need a 4 here in West Bay: Bernie, Captain Eugene, the Honorable McKeeva Bush, and John Jefferson Jr. in West Bay. And Georgetown, we have 5 candidates. I've been promoting them every day. Somebody will come to me and say, well, John, I'm in so-and-so. Well, I say, well, let's see who is not here. Oh, Tess is not here. You got to vote for it. Oh, okay. As long as you tell them who to vote for, they're going to vote for it. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, May 24th, you can see a landslide in this country. You can see a landslide. the majority of the elected members will be Cayman Democratic Party, and we're going to have a party after that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave some space and time for the others members, but thank you, God bless you, and good night.
Thank you, Mr. Jefferson. Ladies and gentlemen, John Jefferson Jr., our candidate for West Bay South. And he said he's a fighter. After that speech, boy, I believe him. All right, our next speaker tonight is our candidate for West Bay North, and I'll keep it brief. Mr. Bernie Bush, sitting here with the cap on. Sitting here with the cap on. He serves as our party's deputy leader. And let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Bush real quickly. Sorry, Bernie. Protocol is, that's Bernie. This is Mr. Bush. Bernie Bush is a 1989 graduate of Carnegie Leeds University with a sports science degree. However, his community involvement actually started in 1979 and continues until this day. Bernie was a founding member and president of the Cayman Islands Special Olympics. Now, I have an interesting memory with Bernie when he was the director of the Pirates Week Committee. I still am a performer. And I started out at around 12. And by the age of 16, I hadn't hit any big stage or anything yet. And Bernie caught eye of us at some talent shows. My young band was called Undiscovered. And he decided, I want to put it up on that big Pirates Week stage. And we were the only group of young boys up there rocking. But let me tell you something, he wanted to slap me at the end of it. When I walked off the stage, he said, boy, you did good. But tell me something, what are you doing with that piece of paper in your hand? I was nervous. I did not put down that lyric sheet. He was watching me the whole night. But Mr. Bernie pat me on the back and say, all right, boy, you still did a great job. That's him doing for the community. He saw the young people. He saw the talent. He gave us exposure on that stage with the international acts. That's Mr. Bernie Bush. Please welcome our candidate for West Bay North, Mr. Bernie Bush.
Thank you, my little brother. You have to excuse me, I think I'm fighting a flu. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy that Johnny touched the part where the Honorable Ministress of Sports, attacked Johnny, but there's something that must be said about the attack. There's something about magic. You move your hands over here and what's being done is done over here. And jumped up and said, you should be looking out for the local people and not foreigners. In other words, that old mentality of slaving people regardless of where they come from. A lot of people who are voting now came here as workers. They have now become Caymanians and they're voting. You don't think they don't remember what it's like to be treated bad? And what Johnny said was nothing about the money that would affect us local pensions. Where it would affect her and her government and their usual, like Charles said, elitists, is people money is somebody else overseas is making money off that money. And if you give a person who's come here for 7 or 8 years, work hard, going back to their country, wants their pension to start a business to complete their life. And I know quite a few people who left and have gone home when they heard this law passed. They already did it, and now they've gone home and they started businesses with their money. Look, if somebody worked for something, give it to them. Simple. Simple. So when they attacked Johnny, what should have been said was, look, I want to make sure that those people who control our money overseas make more money, even though we're losing money. That's the disgusting part. Not that we want, there's no other government that has looked out for the people like the set of people we have. No other but government. I've made a few promises. One, I see the gentleman sitting in the audience tonight. I mean his son, who's my partner in primary school. I told Captain Brian, that God's willing, May the 24th when we were elected, I will highlight and go after the shenanigans that they did with him and his people at the Safe Haven docking thing. You all do know what they did. Who can speak? Oh, you speaking tonight? Oh, beautiful. I can leave that alone. You light up the Christmas tree, Cap. You leave the. I was sick all day, so I didn't get in on the meeting who's going to speak. But I was going to keep my word to you, sir. And I want to do some homework. There's a certain massive walking about the place. Stand up and talk to one person and say, you really go vote for them old crew again? Walk across the street and say, I go work with McKeeva, you know. From one side to that side. But they've gone to too many people's yards now that I've heard the same story. And I promise people, and I've never got on a platform and talk about people, but I have to defend. And I have to expose lies. And I'm telling people, I don't want to get down in the dirt. But anybody who knew me as a footballer knew that I love getting down in the dirt. I can get down as well, you know. I was one of those West Bears that went Georgetown and was never intimidated. I had a pastor tell me that one time. The reason he voted for me because he remembered football days. There was 2 or 3 people, he said, Ralph Williams and yourself, went Georgetown and never backed down from nobody yet. They're walking about telling people, I should be ashamed that I knew that there was more in the classrooms where my daughter was teaching, and I did nothing about it. I have an affidavit, ladies and gentlemen, where Bernie went to the Department of Environment and had him come down and do the classrooms. When the principal, he's left the island now, Mr. Wallace, found out, he was very upset with me. I said, Joe, I'll pay for it. But I got my daughter, and I don't want my daughter to be sick. She's already suffering with a lung problem. So when they go about and talk their stuff, they don't know what they're talking. They just showed up in West Bay Primary. Walking about, making the school look bad. I've been there from 1981. Now Floyd Bush called me and said, look, you think just because you made the national team, you're somebody? Come down here, you got help down here. And Ed Bush, Floyd Bush, and Bernie Bush dropped many a paint line and down there. And many a child now that's big children. Bernie went through Bernie, so Bernie drove the bus. Last week when he said he remembered something, I'd even forgotten it. Serving breakfast. You hear these people talking about breakfast programs in the school? When I was president of West Bay PTA, and believe you me, I had a first-class committee with me. Nobody would go call the press and without making the rest of us know. When we saw a problem, we identified it, we fixed it. We were serving breakfast for children that never had no breakfast. He said he remembered myself serving it. He remembered me driving the bus. I never got paid for that, ladies and gentlemen. I know they're coaching in the hot sun. I'm still doing it. When we don't have the LA, every day. The other day I went, a lady called me and said she wanted to see me. Because I am nervous going to people's yard because it's something I've never done my whole life. And if you invite me, I'm coming the next day or the very day. Or you go to Burn, I need to see, I'm there. I went to a lady's yard and she said, I haven't seen you too much at the school lately, at the PTA meeting or whatever. I said, well, Mom, I'm there. Her husband walked in and said, hey, Mr. Bush, how you doing? How do you take that hot sun every day? I said, tell your wife. He says, what do you mean? She says she don't see me. He said to his wife, every day I pick up her son, he's down there on the field. From 2 o'clock until 4:30 every evening, that's where you can find that's where my office is, West Bay Primary School field. So Barney never just show up here lately. Barney got track record. I had to go about and talk about nobody. I had to go talk about myself and what I've done. And the thing of what I've always done is surround myself with good people and we get results. Some of them, and they have another one walking around that they have an answer for everything and they know everything. Yet, when people like Ha and those people start a business, you ask these, you have a business, a vocational thing. How many young people have you brought into your company and made them get licensed or try to train them to be what you're doing? Come on. Don't just show up, and say all this you got to do. And in the last 4 years, you land the last election. And what have you done since then? Call the radio. That's all. Call the radio. I need help at West Bay Primary. Come and help me, please. Ladies and gentlemen, the last time they say I spoke long down in Boston Bay, and I need to give Cap his time. It's something that I want to do when we get elected. You realize that as people get older, they have to be kept busy. We want to start to organize someplace, something where people can go out, or the older people can go out. We have a prearranged pickup or whatever. They go out and they sit down in a mix and they talk and they just sit down and relax someplace. That is social involvement. We have to do this for our older people. Mr. Bush has already said that little $500 ain't enough. We know that the way it is. That's so. But we have to get our older people and keep them active. Keep them active. We got to put it to use. We got to put it to use. Don't worry. It's been sitting there only once a year being used. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to get serious about the vocational programs. Some of them are talking about, I heard the latest one is that they don't want them starting too early. I should bring two parents up here. I just might speak to the parents as well, see get them come to the next meeting. We had two young boys in West Bay Primary in year 6. And the two young boys have been in trouble from year 1 to year 5. All of a sudden in year 6 they got in a certain teacher's class, and all of a sudden these boys became star students. And every 2 weeks, one of those boys is taken to the Ritz and he's learning how to do pastries, cupcakes, those type of things. The other young boy is up in the shop working with motorcycles. Ladies and gentlemen, don't tell me it's too young to start. You can start whenever the child wants and their mind and they want to. When that mind is young, it's absorbing everything. Give them the options. Don't just say we're not going to do it. It's earlier the better. We have evidence. Ladies and gentlemen, they sit down and they talk about crime, which has been one of my main fights for the past 4 years. They say I'm responsible for getting the commissioner and his deputy out of the country. I'm not. Amen. They did their own, they did it to themselves. The first time I stood and asked, all I asked the man was about his policies. And the man went to town. And we still paying him. That's the bad part. But that is where us as Caymanians better wake up. And it's time for us to start to take more control of our country, ladies and gentlemen. But I got some good news today. And sometimes it takes people, just a simple thing. I don't call into the talk shows too often. If I go on the talk show, I go on the talk show. But I know how this country stays. I don't go to church unless it's two churches I usually go to. And those two churches are always invited to. And that's the church that I grew up in and Brother Gary Church. And while I remember, I want you all to have tonight in your prayers, you all know Shorty or Kabung or whatever you want to call him. He had surgery at Dr. Shetty Hospital today. It looked like it's a success. They've kept him in the IC unit, but he's resting comfortably. Keep him in your prayers. And also, there's been a very bad accident in East End, and I want you to hear some bad news about quite a few people in the accident. Keep your prayers together for those people as well, please. But every time we'd go, the police would ask us for more money. We'd give them more money. Because if you look in the history of the country, this man, the Honorable McKeeva Bush, has always given the police what they asked for. People say too much, but every time we go to ask questions, and especially in the last 4 years, oh my God, we reprimanded. We must not get involved in this and that and so forth. But there is a section of the police law, and it's section 146. Police Law 2014, revision, section 146. The Cabinet may make regulations for the good order and government of the service and for carrying into effect any of the purposes or provisions of this law, including the following: the numerical or the number of establishment of the service, the conditions of service, the various grade, ranks, and appointments therein, the duties to be performed, pay, retirement, description issues, the control administration of welfare fund, the control administration application of police legal protection fund, discipline. So we can make regulations that when we put it in place, they have to carry it out. Ladies and gentlemen, God's willing, May the 24th, we will take charge. We will tell them, look, this is what we as people on the ground know what our people are going through. This is how you're going to operate. Go and do it. We can't tell you how to be a police. You train for that. We can't tell you how to collect fingerprints. You train for that. But we can tell you the policy is how you deal with our people. You must be fair. Because there's too much evidence going on in this country where there is biasness, discrimination, not only inside the police force with each other. I addressed it directly with 2 commissioners now. I asked them, what are you going to do about the racism in the police force? I stood there in Parliament and I stood there face to face, and I must say this for the new one. At least he'll stand and talk to you and he'll listen to you. So ladies and gentlemen, crime, the youth, education is a priority. It's a must. And another thing I'm going to tell you all in closing. You all know you need someone to stand up for you all. There are a lot of outside elements. When this man went and he told them, I do not support taxing my people. I do not support firing 500 civil servants. Other people went away, and as they tell them what to do, they say, yeah. They go in, they sign all kind of documents and come back and say, no, we got evidence from overseas that they signed it. Just because you need a government that's going to stand up for you and fight for you, because people are going to want to push all kind of stuff that against what we grew up with. We grew up, regardless of, we may not have been born again Christians, but we are a godly country and godly people. So make sure you elect a government that can go up there, that's not afraid. The greatest compliment I had, I'm going to wear the t-shirt. A young man from Bordentown sent me a t-shirt. It said, Bernie, not for rent, not for sale, and not afraid. And I can tell you, that's all of us up here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's CAP's time. Thank you all very much. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate it very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bernie Bush, representing us in West Bay North. Our next speaker tonight is our CDP candidate for West Bay Central, Captain Eugene Ebanks. Captain Eugene is a businessman in the tourism industry and the owner of Bayside Water Sports, a graduate of the American Institute of Aeronautics, and with his commercial pilot license. Very good. Captain Eugene also served in the U.S. Merchant Marines for 4 years during the Vietnam War and has served as a fisheries officer and special constable. He is a past president of the Cayman National Water Sports Association and has also served on the Marine Conservation Board. Now, I had a talk with Mr. Eugene a few nights ago, and I am big on the environment. Ladies and gentlemen, I carry my bachelor's in environmental science, and I completed my master's in England with geoscience research at one of the top schools in England for geography. So when I spoke to him, it touched me to know that he held the marine environment at heart. Mr. Ebanks has expressed to me that his concerns with the natural environment and how important it is to our culture and traditions. Captain Eugene has made a promise to protect our marine environment, not just for us to enjoy now, but he understands that we need to protect it for us to be able to share it and share our traditions with our children, with our grandchildren, and with our future visitors. Our God has blessed us with a sea of plentiful resources, and this gentleman has pledged to see that we take care of it. Please welcome Captain Eugene Ebanks.
Thank you, Mr. King. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. It is a great pleasure to see you here this evening, and we certainly appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come out and join us. And like Mr. King, I don't know if you realize it, but that's exactly what I wanted to talk about tonight, was environment and the marine environment. So thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, most people in the Cayman Islands understand the importance of maintaining a healthy underwater environment and have taken great care to preserve the treasures of the deep for future generations to enjoy. To that end, we have developed a series of environmental laws that will help ensure the sustainability of our fragile natural environment. By working together to protect the environment and committing to conservation, everyone will benefit, both today and for future generations to come. As a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, and this is just as a reminder, many of you might know it, but I'll just remind you, that the marine conservation laws in Cayman state that damaging coral by anchor, chain, or any means anywhere in the Cayman waters is prohibited. No taking of any marine life, alive or dead, in protected areas. No taking of any coral, sponges, sea fans, etc. from Cayman waters. Wearing gloves during diving or snorkeling in Cayman waters is prohibited. Export of live fish or other marine life is prohibited. Fishing with gill nets, poison, or other noxious substances is prohibited. Dumping anything in Cayman waters is prohibited. The export of conch shells and/or black coral requires a special permit issued through the Department of Environment. Ladies and gentlemen, during my time in the Legislative Assembly, I have brought important amendments to the Marine Conservation Law to ensure tighter restrictions on the catch limit of conch and lobster, and have also reduced the open seasons for conch and lobster. In that way, ladies and gentlemen, it gives that marine life a better opportunity to survive and reproduce. Those amendments to the Marine Conservation Law, I brought them in the Legislative Assembly. I move to have a daily, the ladies and gentlemen, that has proved to enhance the season and the population in the marine life. And the CDP will enhance our conch production in other innovative ways, such as conch farming, as I mentioned in my speech at Bergman's Bakery a couple of weeks ago. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, that a vote for the Cayman Democratic Party is a vote for continued conservation of our fragile 100 square mile paradise. A CDP vote is a vote for W. McKeeva Bush and West Bay West. A CDP vote is a vote for Bernie Bush and West Bay North. A CDP vote is a vote for John Jefferson Jr. and West Bay South. And a CDP vote is a vote for Captain Eugene and West Bay Central. Ladies and gentlemen, with the growing expansion along our shorelines, one of our most underrated assets, the mangroves, must be more closely examined, much of which is being lost to development. An estimated 85% of fish spend their early years in the mangroves, where they are protected by the root system from larger predators, and where the decaying leaves ultimately turn into a rich food source for marine aquatic life. As well as being nurseries for the reef, the tightly tangled root system of these trees create a highly effective natural storm barrier, reducing the impact of wave damage and preventing coastal erosion. Mangrove roots also trap sediment in rainwater runoff, preventing it from flowing into the ocean and clouding the water, which would starve the coral of vital sunlight. In Grand Cayman, freshwater lenses form around the mangrove wetlands, and over time, these forests have created some of the richest agricultural lands on the island. Despite their ecological importance, mangroves are often seen as useless wasteland and mosquito breeding grounds, and therefore something to be removed or filled in. Ironically, without them, Cayman would not have the crystal clear waters, the healthy reefs, and diverse bird and marine life that it is famous for. Unfortunately, most of Cayman's mangroves are not protected. Of the 8,500 acres of central mangrove wetlands, approximately only 1,500 acres are protected under the Marine Parks Law, and 765 acres are owned by the National Trust. Ladies and gentlemen, your next government, the Cayman Democratic Party government, will continue what we started and take conservation seriously, realizing how important our marine environment is to our livelihood. Striking the right balance between development and protecting our natural environment, the CDP will also establish a tourism authority and formally create a framework for the true public and private sector collaboration and cooperation. We will expand the tourism vocational training and apprenticeship programs to ensure more Caymanians, both school leavers and mature citizens, can transition into good jobs and have the opportunities to advance within the industry. We will promote the unique and distinct tourism offerings of Cayman Brac, Little Cayman, and eastern districts of Grand Cayman. By installing capable, experienced leadership in the tourism industry, we will protect, redirect, and grow national tourism in a sustainable manner to ensure Caymanians will benefit directly from the success in tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, not only does our marine environment deserve our highest priority, but so does our terrestrial treasures. Our landfill has been a sore thumb for many years, but more than aesthetics, ladies and gentlemen, it poses a serious health threat. It is good to see that a contract to reduce the number of tires is underway. It is also good to see that a number of recycling companies have established themselves. But ladies and gentlemen, this is one of those areas where we must all get involved. We cannot expect the government to micromanage everyone's waste. But this Cayman Democratic Party will put proper programs in place to ensure that our environment is properly protected. Every step of progress of mankind is marked by the discovery and use of natural resources previously unused. Without such progressive knowledge and utilization of natural resources, population could not grow, nor industries multiply, nor the hidden wealth of the earth be developed for the benefit of mankind. With increased trust in local farming, our water and soil are especially precious resources that we must protect under the umbrella of conservation. Water is something that we traditionally have taken for granted, but it is frightening to hear last year marked the lowest levels of rainfall in Cayman since records began. Ladies and gentlemen, conservation is the technique to save clean and pure water for future use by following various effective measures. Managing fresh water as a sustainable resource requires various strategies and activities in order to protect life by meeting all the water demands. Reducing the level of fresh water is a very serious issue for this huge worldwide population, and the increasing need of people for water is especially in manufacturing and agriculture irrigation. Water conservation is necessary to fulfill the goal of future generations. It reduces the use of electricity in water management, because water manages exactly about 15% of the total electricity consumed. In reality, we can live without food for a short time, but not without water. The CDP will advocate for water-saving technology throughout the islands, including rainwater harvesting and agricultural irrigation systems in order to reduce water consumption. Ladies and gentlemen, in upcoming meetings, I want to take more time to address the important needs of employment in these islands. Immigration boards should be abandoned and replaced with an administrative process which would allow the department to focus on its main role of border protection and control. In that way, a properly equipped human resource authority would be able to take on the employment-related tasks that these immigration boards are now doing. This new authority can do the necessary work for our citizens, secure and maintain a job. We could even consider privatizing this service, since there are numerous recruitment agencies on the island that successfully place persons, usually in the financial services sector. Unfortunately, they tend to place foreign workers in the Cayman market. Why can't they extend the service where they are developing the Caymanian applicants or working with the NWDA's development program to ensure more Caymanians are ready for the job market and being placed in the job market? This authority will work closely with the Immigration Department to suggest work permits approvals as necessary. But immigration boards will not have to be diverted from their proper job of border protection to deal with the day-to-day employment assessment. Ladies and gentlemen, there's been a steady increase of work permits from 18,000 in 2002 to over 23,000 in 2016. With the unemployment rate at an estimated 2,200 persons, there must be a way to match some of those work permit openings with our local people. There must be. There are around 600 clerical support workers, 1,300 managers, and over 5,000 service workers. Ladies and gentlemen, the Cayman Democratic Party will ensure that we establish the proper protocols to have this new system in place to better protect our people in our own country. If nowhere else, you should be able to get a job in your own country. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you tonight of the commitment of the Cayman Democratic Party, the party for the people, to continue to deliver the high level of service and representation that you have come to expect. I leave you with our mantra tonight. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. On May 24th, vote for W. McKeeva Bush, West Bay West. Barney Bush in West Bay North. John Jefferson Jr. in West Bay South. And West Bay Central, yours truly, Captain Eugene. Thank you and good night. God bless. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Eugene Ebanks, West Bay Central. Now, really quickly, I want to see if you really get what he's saying about the importance of conservation. So we love going out and we catch the biggest fish one day. Then we go back out and we catch one that about the size of my hand, and you say, well, what happened? Well, if you didn't give the fish time to grow, you can't go back out there and boast about catching no more big fish because you're not giving them time to grow. If you go out there one day and you say, well, I catch about 40 this and 40 that, and you go back out the next day with your friend and you only catch about 3. Well, what do you expect going to happen if you're not giving them time to reproduce? That's what Captain Eugene is saying. We need to watch out for the environment so that it can help us too. All right. I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to welcome our next guest speaker. And Mr. Bernie Bush mentioned him briefly about the safe haven issue. And this has been on people's tongues for a while. Tonight we have the gentleman who is leading the charge on behalf of the boat operators to come and fill us in on what's really happening with our situation in safe haven. Can you help me welcome Mr. Captain Brian? Mr. Captain Brian Ebanks.
Well, I had a lot to say, but I listened to Charles and he took all my language away. I don't think you've left me with anything to say. Now you guys got to ask a question. What am I doing here? Because the last time you saw me, I was on a platform over there, right? In fact, I was actually campaigning against McKeeva. You know me and McKeeva is cousins, right? You didn't know that, did you? Okay. Well, tonight I'm on his platform. And I'll tell you why I'm on his platform. Because the PPM is a disappointment to their people. They don't love you. They have no passion in their heart for you. They only care about the rich and the powerful. They don't care about the common man and the working man. They don't think about your children. They don't think about their children. They sell all of your future generations' land to build some fine roads. Now you tell me, what are your future generations going to do when there's no more valuable land left in this country? What are you going to do? Give them the swamps? That's what you've left with. That's what you have been left with. All our valuable lands have been gone. Why? Because we have gone out there and decided that we want the finest of everything. Because the PPM has this thing that they have to build beautiful pictures, either beautiful schools that we can't afford or roads that look so fine. And you say to yourselves, how did we get the money to build them? Well, I can tell you how we did. We took the land for the future generations and we made deals with it. We sold it. And see, when you sell it, you can't get it back. So when the future generations find themselves in difficulty and their governments need to make a deal, what are they going to sell? The swamps? No, they can't sell the swamps. They're going to be at the mercy of someone who says, have you heard about the Pied Piper? Some of you must have heard about that story in school. You heard about him? How in the end, what did he do when they wouldn't pay him? He played his pipe and he took all the children away. But that's where Cayman is headed. There's no plans for your future. Under the PPN, there's no mercy for you. There is a disappointment to you. There is a disappointment to the future generation because it's only about power and money. That's all it is. Now let me tell you the story of Safe Haven. A long time ago, one of your representatives by the name of Mr. Benson made a deal because he realized back then, and that was a long time ago, that the future generations of Caymanians, and particularly West Bears, because it was West Bears that built the Stingray City. It was West Bears that were your ambassadors to the North Sound. West Bears. I was the only Georgetown West Bay out there. So it is a West Bay product built by West Bears. But you know what? These weren't rich West Bears. These were just the common people. And the common people are people that the PPM have no respect and no caring for because they have nothing to give. Say it again, brother. Say it again. They have nothing to give. They only know them come election time or your grandmother at Christmas to give her a turkey, but a turkey can't do nothing for you because eventually you'll eat it, you'll be full and it'll be gone. They have no plans for the future generation of Caymanians. And I'm going to tell you something else. What you have to be careful for, guys, in West Bay, is there's a lot of people running because the PPM created this system that we have now that we're going to have to live with whether we like it or not. We were already a divided people. Now we've been chopped up in little pieces. Chopped up in little pieces. Neighborhoods by neighborhoods. That's not good. We're only a small little country with 60,000 people. With a system in place for a city, for a town, for a great place with lots of population. So now we're fighting each other, neighborhood by neighborhood. After this election, what some of you going to do? You're going to go to some of these people and you're going to say, Mr. So-and-so, can you help me? He's going to say, no. Go down the road. That's not what you want. You need a government. Many of those people out there who call themselves independent are being dishonest to you. And if they're being dishonest to you now, what is going to happen when they get in the house? What are going to happen? But let me tell you about the story of Safe Haven. A piece of land that was laid aside by Mr. Benson many years ago, who realized that the common people would need some place to go to put their boats to continue being the ambassadors of tourism that they were, right? And he made a deal and preserved a place called Safe Haven. What a fitting name. This Safe Haven was supposed to be developed. It was actually in 1999, and these gentlemen on the stage are much aware. McKeeva's aware of it. Mr. Jefferson's aware of it, because they were in the House at the time. The whole House of Assembly decided that the West Bears had contributed so much to tourism that they were going to develop this piece of land, take it out of the hands of government, and put it in safekeeping with a Port Authority to be developed for the people. They did, the whole House. In fact, they bragged that it was such a unanimous decision that such a decision unanimously had never been made before. And under the administration of Kurt Tibbetts, the PPM, Minister of Government Business, he embraced us, the operators of Safe Haven, and told us not to worry. You heard that before, right? Don't worry about a thing. Don't worry. That was Kurt Tibbetts. He sings that song really well. Don't worry. Everything's going to be all right. Right? We love you. And he had some help along the way by the director of the Port Authority. And they told us they were developing this for the boat operators. But I'll tell you what Kurt Tibbetts said in the Hansards of the house. He said, this piece of land at Safe Haven was such a beautiful piece of land. It was such a large piece of land. It could accommodate up to 60 boats, which is more than the boats we have going to the sandbar that utilize the North Sun at this time. He said it didn't need much to develop it because it already had a beautiful seawall. But about 12 years ago, this same Kurt Tibbetts had told us what a beautiful piece of land and told us they were going to give us this. We never remember this now. We never asked for a thing. It was given to us. They took the land and they took $17 million worth of land that was laid aside by the House of Assembly of 1999, and they traded it $17 million for a $3 million marina. And instead of accommodating all of the boating operators, which was, Kurt said, 60, it's in the Hansards. So the evidence is there, can't lie. They gave us a place that could only hold 20. 20. And you know who they said did this to us? McKeeva. And then it took us 10 years to find the contracts. And guess whose name was on the contract? Who signed it? Mr. Wayne Potter. There you go. There you go. $17 million worth of land that was laid aside for the people, put in trust to the Port Authority to be developed for all of these Caymanians, given away to Michael Ryan for a $3 million marina. What a deal. What a deal, and it was his fault. And we all thought it was McKeeva. So that's why I'm here tonight, because I learned it wasn't him. I learned it was them. They were the traitors. They stabbed us in the back. But I'm not finished. I'm not finished. We also had a right-of-way to this marina that was given by the House of Assembly, which was 50 feet wide and over 3,000 feet long, which was worth in excess of $10 million. You know how much they gave that to the developer for? Can you imagine? $1 a year for 99 years. $99. Wow. Can any of you get those kind of deals? Huh? Now you got to ask yourself, what the heck did this developer do to get such a deal? I understand it said that he owed government still some money in taxes that he didn't pay. So these are the kind of people we make deals with. We give them the people's lands, and we have to ask the question, how do you give in excess of $10 million of property, which does not belong to you, is the people's land? Do they have any constitutional rights in these matters? Well, that is going to be answered later. But how do you do this? $99 for over $10 million your land. And guess what? We can't say the developer went out there and built schools. We can't say he built a building with it, and so we benefited from it. He didn't build nothing. He took his deal and sold it to the highest bidder. You think he sold his deal for $99? No. He loves Cayman. He loves Cayman. He loves Cayman. Why? This is the only way in the world that you can do this to the people. And what did people do? They sit down and they take nothing. They just grab the scraps and they fight among each other. Caymanians, we have to stop fighting among each other. And we must understand, we have to understand that unless you fight for your rights, you are not going to get it. You are not going to get it. Right? Come election day, you need a government. This idea about I'm independent and I'm not independent and I'm striking deals with this guy and I'm going to strike a deal with the highest bidder, they are playing with you, not me. I went inside to learn what I know. I was once naive, but not anymore. Not anymore. We made representation to the PPM government. We made representation to the caucus where your representatives from West Bay was sitting. Well, I'm not calling her name, but you can. She was there. She was there. We had the Hansard. We had all the information. We made packages for each one so they would know. And what did your representative do? Nothing. Nothing. I also asked one of her running mates to please have her come and sit with us. And I said to him, not with me, but with the people who had put her signs up previously, who had dig her post holes, because they were the operators from the North Sound. Come and sit down and hear our plight, hear what has been done to us. 3 weeks went by, and I went to her running mate and I said, what's happening? He says, what she don't know you can't hold her accounted for. That's his word, not mine. What she doesn't know you can't hold her accountable for. Is that the kind of leadership you want in the country? Is that what you want? Is that what you want? Well, that's why I told. I'm only telling you the truth. Some people are afraid to speak the truth, not this one. This he-bank is not afraid of no one and nothing. No one owns this. This is mine. And when I make a mistake, I'm not afraid to come out to you and say, I made a mistake. I made a mistake. I'm an advocate for the people. I'm not running for politics. And I will never stop fighting. Because the day you fight, not stop fighting, you have no future for your children. You see that little boy there? He's 6. That's my son. I have to fight. I can't get old. I can't get weak. I have to fight. Because if I don't fight, he can't fight for himself. And the PPM government has no plans for his future. They don't have none for mine. When they found out that I had a mouth, and they found out that I had things I believed in, and I had a philosophy in my mind, they said, hold on a minute, you're too much trouble for us. You're too much trouble for us. We want to control your mouth, and we thought we could put you in a corner, but it couldn't work. So I withdrew myself from them because I realized that they had no love for me, no love for anyone. For them, you're just a number. And your number is a vote. Guys, I'm going to tell you, I can't tell you who to vote for, but I'm supporting my cousin McKeeva and his party. And I was telling people that long before tonight, and he didn't ask me to tell you that. No, he didn't. Because the PPM had me make that decision. They made it for me. They made the decision for me. I gave them my heart, my soul, my love, and they gave me nothing but a stab in the back and hatred. I gave them love, and I found out that they have no love for you because you have nothing to give them. They make deals with the rich at the expense of the poor. Charles was right. Every word he uttered left me feeling, what else do I have to say? But that is the truth, folks. That is the truth. But thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening to me. Please, we do not need a fragmented government. We do not need election day that you have elected your representatives to have a house where people are running across the aisle making deals. You need an experienced leader of government. You don't need, let me tell you something. If a Caymanian is going to dig a hole in the ground, the first thing he asks the man that's going to dig a hole, what experience do you have? McKeeva Bush has been our first premier. He has the experience. You need a government with leadership, right? You need a government with leadership. You don't need someone without experience, because we will go nowhere. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Brian Ebanks. Boy, he shook me with that. Whew. Give me a moment. With no further ado, I could call that an endorsement. to bring us with our closing comments, please help me bring to the mic the Honorable Mr. McKeeva Bush, our party leader.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank the chairman for his enthusiastic chairmanship of our meeting here tonight. I want to thank our guest speakers. We all know Charles. We know where he's come from. He don't hide anything, but he is somebody for us to be proud of. And I tell you, in regard to Captain Brian, as he said, we are cousins. And his father was a cousin of others, my mother's first cousin, and they grew up like brother and sister. They lived in the same home for many years. But he used to say, I haven't said a word. Maddie, he used to say, I haven't said a word. And after Brian's speech, I don't know if I should say anything.
I thought the same thing.
But Brian's speech tonight, and I know that he could have went on for an hour because he has been at work with this, finding out information, and he has it. But it was something like me walking out of court or going into court says, the truth is going to come out one of these days. And for years, the PPM and their cohorts down here have tried to blame me about safe haven. For years. Yes, we talked about it, we discussed it, we put things on paper, but when that time came that they would not agree with us about the benefits being wholly and solely for the North Sound boat operators and anybody else that, of course, wanted to use it, we did not sign. We did not sign. Who signed? The present administration. Mr. Wayne Patton, who was chairman of the Port Authority at that time. And of course, Mr. Tibbetts and his government backed him. He could not do those sort of things. Although he was not elected, he still could not do those sort of things, and although he was chairman at that time. He could not unless his government did it. And so, tonight with Captain Brian divulging his knowledge, I am pleased. And we're just getting about 10 o'clock. And we intended to talk about tourism. And that's what I wanted to talk about tonight because I wanted to come from a different level with tourism. Captain Brian spoke about one aspect of it. Captain Eugene spoke. Jonas spoke. And I guess I would have at least a half an hour. And I don't know if you have that kind of time to give me tonight. But before I go there, I do want to mention that recently, in one of her meetings, the minister, Tara Rivers, made some remark about my colleague, Captain Eugene, about motions, and that he didn't bring any motions. Well, I don't know where she was, but there's always out there in La La Land somewhere about, you know. You see, I brought for many years the most motions in the House. And sometimes you bring motions and you can't get anything done. But you bring motions because sometimes you have to prove your point. But it's not true. You see, every motion that I brought to the House, since myself and Captain Eugene been colleagues, I have discussed with him first, and my colleagues, all of them, first. And most times, he seconded my motions, which means he brought the motion as well. Don't Tara Rivers, with her law degree, understand that? And of course, he supported all of them. And don't she understand that is what teamwork is all about? Captain Eugene brought motions that I seconded. I brought more than him, yes, because I've been there longer than him. But don't you understand that that is what teamwork is all about? And we supported other motions brought by other members as well. So if she said that he didn't bring any motions, well, she's not telling the truth. What she needs to explain is, what has she brought for the good of this district? We are in dire need, and we are run out of cemetery space, for instance, in our main cemetery. We brought motions for that. We got land for it. We could have gotten a cemetery built, and they haven't done anything. When Tara Rivers could have held the government's foot to the fire because she was the glue that was holding the government together. Don't fool yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. These are serious times. Don't you let her tell you that she's independent. She is no more independent than a 3-inch cat as against a 1-inch cat. And you know that all two of them has to work together. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the PPM to go. They are not for the people. And from day one, when she claimed she was an independent and joined up with that group, she let West Bay down. And she has never recovered from their grip. And now she expects you to believe, and she expects the people of West Bay South to believe that she is independent. And so she criticizes my other colleague. Ladies and gentlemen, I think he explained himself good enough. I don't need to come to any more defense tonight. But it tells you something about her thinking. Because they believe that they can say things and twist the facts, and that's it. You're going to believe them. Well, they had their run. You believed them, and they let you down. In fact, they told you a pack of lies, and it is time that they leave. They pack their bags and leave. It is time for the PPM to go, and they can take Tara Rivers, and she's talking about she got the South locked up. Yeah, she's gone south. She's gone south. Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to talk to you about tourism and I hope you give me a little bit more time. We have been around tourism a long time. I've been there, and a lot of my age group have been there. And we have seen the drastic changes over the years that we as the Cayman Islands have undergone, not only as a country, but within this vibrant industry as well. When I was a little boy, I remember the few boutique properties we had, which enabled our growth through the magic which we now term as Caymankind. Caymankind was what we as Caymanians in the industry projected, and that built the foundations of success that followed. Defining movements over the years has created the tourism we have today. From the first Cayman Airways flight to the development of major brand hotels such as the Hyatt, to when I needed a game changer to continue to compete in the new Caribbean, so I thought the first luxury property here against much opposition, being the Ritz-Carlton. But after a lot of the movement in tourism, we must now, however, take a broader and more in-depth look at how we got here. We need to understand if we have truly been successful, how do we define success? And where do we go from here as a people in tourism? Our job as a country can be seen, he ain't no Moses, as an easy task. However, in such a competitive industry, ladies and gentlemen, it is no easy task, no easy feat. That being stated, we do have started with what I believe, what I know to be the best product. Cayman still has a good product in our tourism. We have everything we need in order to reach certain segments of persons who want escapes from their reality wherever they are from, in order to capture good memories, be safe. We still have all that. And so yes, today we have 5-star accommodations, good dining attractions, and God-given breathtaking beaches and good experiences from good people who can take them on the water. And we must remember that it all started not with luxurious, shimmering rooms, but rather with sparkling, shimmering Caymanian smiles, Caymanian service, invaluable experience created by our people. And we have grown our industry. I think Brother John is still in the audience, and perhaps one of the oldest one. I think Miss Aldine is here, and Miss Clover, and my cousin Meme, and maybe others who, Ruby, Miss Peggy, and you yourself, but you're not that old yet. Our people have built the industry. Yes, in building that industry we needed and will need help from others because we are inclusive. However, ladies and gentlemen, we ought now to audit, and now we see how we as Caymanians properly benefit from the economic miracle of the Cayman Islands. And this is especially true and needs to be done in short order in that industry that is near and dear to us all. Ladies and gentlemen, you hear the PPM bragging about their surpluses. Tourism is the second largest contributor to our GDP. And when you take into account all of the services that benefit from that industry, a sizable source of small Caymanian business owners are within that industry. And when you take into account cruise tourism, tourism is one of the great equalizers as persons with all levels of education can become successful and can either own or rise through the ranks in its business. And if you're not that well educated, you can still have a future in tourism. And one of the areas that I've been talking about, and every time I do, the PPM likes to try to contradict me, but over the last 4 years, I've had that to think about, is that as we glow in the achievements of this industry, with tourism arrivals constantly increasing, those increases can be factually traced to the policies my government put into place from 2009 to 2012. Now, that isn't the issue in regard to the credit, who gets the credit. The issue that gets lost in these kind of great increases is the question of whether we, or the government, have missed the mark in regards to what truly matters. And so in the last few years, the only measure of success, especially for the PPM, has been in what they see as the gross domestic product numbers, what they see in the debt ratios, and there, you know that they have been the last couple of weeks talking about that and the surpluses. But what you must ask yourselves is, what did they do to increase the revenue that gave the surplus that enabled a lower debt ratio? Did they do anything? How much revenue measures did they put in place? Don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen. All those are good indicators, but how do you measure the number of Caymanians a year that are losing their homes as against their surplus? What about that statistic? How do you measure success like that? How do you claim success when many of our children and elderly are going hungry? When people are still sleeping in their cars and going to the beach bathrooms to bathe, and they talk about their surpluses? Well, that don't work with McKeeva Bush, because I know what need is. I've been there. What about the statistics of Meals on Wheels increasing to historic rates? How do you measure that success, Mr. Economic Ministers of the PPM? How do you claim success when we still are graduating more than half of our children without proper skills, and we have set them up for failure? How do you measure success? Still 20% as against the 80%. How is that a success, Mr. PPM and your progressiveness? Even worse are those young adults that we promised the world of opportunity. They have made sacrifices on their parents for higher education and return to what? Steel wall barriers. They can see the promised land of opportunity. However, they can't break through, can't get a job. So how do you, Mr. PPM, and your progressiveness measure that kind of success? The PPM, ladies and gentlemen, is good. They are promising young people. Very promising. The PPM is really good at building monuments of nothingness. You heard me talk about the other night about nada? Yeah, same thing. Nothing. However, it is time for us to start to build Caymanian pillars of expertise within our people, and specifically our young people. There's no time to waste. There's no time to take in people who do not understand, who still talking about they can take Judah off a chicken and off a flour when that had been done from the 60s. And still talking about they're going to give a stipend or money to employers to hire Caymanians, when we should be giving the stipend to the young people that want to go to our school that we built. That's what we need to do. But they found a good solid foundation, although they never said that, and although they had a governor that, well, you know what I tell you about they would lie the tail off a brass monkey? Well, that governor was like that. He was just like that. So they had found the foundation because we left the money there. The seeds we planted caught root, grew, and flourished. The issue, however, has been that the benefits have not trickled down to the right places and have not been dispersed properly to our Caymanians. Instead of them trying, ladies and gentlemen, to take some money for the development bank, they get up there and still accusing me that I've done the wrong thing in creating the development bank. Give the development bank some money so that small business can be handled and enhanced and treated with some respect and treated with some sort of assistance. My last administration did find a mess in 2009, and when we came into office. So we did the heavy lifting to reduce the cost that tourism was having and strategically implemented strategy that started to deliver the results that we are currently experiencing today. Moses would not tell you that. The current administration simply followed our trajectory. However, they failed to ensure proper distribution of the benefits. So we seeded, we watered, and ensured the fruits of our efforts would bloom. However, the PPM has failed to ensure that we as citizens are partaking in the benefits. What I found in 2009 was a broken tourism machine. When we started our term, remember this, in 2009, arrivals were plummeting as we came in on the heels of the PPM's reckless spending spree that gave our control for the government budget over to the United Kingdom. Do you remember that? We not only had to stop the bleeding, but we had to course correct, change course, and do it with limited ability to maneuver due to needing to slash our budget as well. And we did that. We didn't throw our hands to the air, but we dug in and went to work. When we finished, we had increased tourism visitation by over 20% in my 4 years, over 20%. And I'm talking about overnight visitation, overnight visitors. We enabled the dominoes to fall, and we created a tipping point to where we are now. We toiled and got the boulder, the rock, to the top of the mountain, and now that's rolling full steam down the hill. And this is the point where Mr. Colonel and his government hopped on for an easy ride. The discontenting part is that the only real job they had after the results and machinery was handed to them was to ensure they got Caymanians to join in on the bus. We have to be really saddened to state that they have coasted downhill with our results and neglected the next step that was needed. Our people need to access the benefits. All of these guys tonight talked a bit about it. Some about the hotels and the operators not getting. And some have no security, even though the property was ours. We are not accessing the benefits. They are hiding behind the results. They came and found and have done nothing to benefit of Caymanians. And so to sum it up, ladies and gentlemen, the worst global recession in history when we took over the government and tourism. That's what we found. We were left with government budget finances that were in a dire situation, and I know that they constantly want to tell you it wasn't that bad, but it was bad, real bad. We had 80 million in deficit, and they said that we had a surplus. And we found nearly 750 million or 700 millions in loans and over 300 millions in building and road payments and other contracts that had to be paid. And you ask, if I had a mess on my hands, you can believe that we did. And we needed to become lean and deliver results, as we had some of the worst stayover arrival figures at that point in time. Don't you forget it. And so with all of those challenges, we still increased stayover visitor arrivals by over 20% during the 4 years. Number one increase in the Caribbean, in fact, during that time period. And we had to make strategies and take time to build, and results from those strategies are seen up to a year or more afterwards. Remember that you start something when you got to tourism, but you cannot immediately have the good effect. It will take a year or more. And so with that caveat, we, ladies and gentlemen, actually increased tourism by 29% through to the end of 2014, because 2013 and 2014 was our strategy still in place. Moses Kakanal didn't have to do anything. With our strategy, we paved the way to breaking the previous stayover visitor arrivals record in our history of 354,000 persons by achieving 382. Under the same strategy, they didn't change anything. What they were doing was busy trying to make me look bad with the Auditor General, taking your attention away from the real facts. That's how they operate. So our Department of Tourism worked, but they worked. So we allowed for the development of sports tourism. We opened new markets in South America. We had record increases in airlift, with achieving services launched from 5 cities in 3 years. We reduced budget by 30%. Remember this, we had to cut the budget. I'm talking about the tourism budget. We rebranded and encapsulated the feeling of what we now call Cayman Kind, to the point where to this date, Cayman Kind is alive and well and resonating with our visitors, whilst allowing us to infuse our culture back into tourism product. All of those items led us to garner top accolades, such as being the #1 in the Caribbean and Mexico for TripAdvisor, being 22 of the best destination in the world, the only Caribbean destination in top 25. Ladies and gentlemen, they took hard work, but they will never admit that. We wanted to ensure that we encourage young Caymanians to be interested in industry. And the goal was to train them with appropriate curriculum and to give the best work experience to allow for the best probability of success. And in order to ensure access, we strategically again made the composition of the Hospitality School Board to include important private sector members. But the dilemma is that as soon as we set the framework to ensure our young people benefit from the fruits of tourism, the PPM got a hold of it, and have neglected that strategy, and to take the baton, we hand it over and carry it across the finish line. Yeah, they invited Usain Bolt to the Cayman Islands, but they fell down themselves. They stalled themselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is time, and for our party, we will get back to work and finish what was started. And we will move on and help our young people. When we return to office, I guarantee we will finish what was started in 2009 to 2012. And if they want to bring back Usain Bolt, well, we'll run alongside of him too. Ladies and gentlemen, there are much to be done. in regards to our tourism policy, and you haven't heard us talk about our tourism policy. That's why I'm asking you to give us some time tonight. The Cayman Islands grew to be the economic miracle and course corrects, ensuring our people have opportunity and fully participate in the increase of economic benefit is our purpose as a party. This is our measure of success versus statistics. You know what they say about statistics. So Mr. Marco can say all along, talk all day, all night about the stats. If they want to feel comfortable, well, so be it. But we need to plan, not only for next year, but if tourism is going to continue to be one of our main pillars of our economy, we must plan for 5, 10 to 25 years. And once we have that understanding and move forward, we will collectively construct options to achieve those targets in the most sustainable manner possible. Yes, cruise tourism is important because it's where the mom and pop operations operate from. That's their business. It is important. It is not as important as the stay over visitor. But we didn't stop there, and we don't stop there. Health City is there to draw tourists. Those people coming here are counted as good tourism. They spend money. They need to spend time. They spend money. But you want to see how they plan. We put in place all the destinations that we have now. They stopped Panama. Now they are talking about they are going to hire a consultant to look at the South America route. When we had already started Panama, and that would reach into South America, the more wealthy South American cities. But they stopped it as soon as they got in. Now they're coming back to talk about they are going to get a consultant to look at going back in, like we hadn't done it before, you see. They must have thought that this election campaign was going to be a walkover for them. They didn't understand the licks they were going to take. So we have to look at our education for tourism, and we will work with the new education ministry to ensure that tourism curriculum will be infused throughout our education system in order to ensure from a young age our children are introduced to those opportunities. And we are going to ensure specific scholarships are assigned to the Hospitality Institute that my government developed in 2012 to allow Caymanians the path to higher levels of positions within the industry. Training, we have to build on programs our administration started. And so we will continue to invest in the hospitality school to build its capabilities and student output. And we will develop a version of the hospitality school and weave it into the high school system in order to attract and train local talent from an early point. And remember this, we are only now sending between 10 to 20% of any graduating class to college. And until we fix that issue, we must also have other avenues for success. And so we are going to provide and include mandatory programs such as school trips from the primary school level to expose our children more than they are from a young age to the various possibilities. So, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that we are on the road and can be, but not with the current administration. They will never get us on the road to where Caymanians are benefiting. If they had not shut down, what we are started in South America, the same thing they say they will start, they would not have to start. The simple facts. So we are going to continue to look at South America and China. Some people say Russia. I haven't looked at that, and I don't have any knowledge base of that. But we will move our airlift. We will continue to build an additional airlift from our current carriers, American Airlines, Delta Airlines, United Airlines, Southwest Airlines, JetBlue, WestJet, and Air Canada. But we will continue new airlift from Panama. This is the key to the Central and South American strategy. And we will also encourage Copa to fly to the Cayman Islands. That's what is needed, not the nonsense that Joey Hugh and Moses are doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have our strategy. If you look into our manifesto, you will find those strategies, and we are going to implement them. We have much work to do. What we need, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot do it by myself. I need all four of us down here. There is no time for anybody to come in here to want to learn and talk Nancy stories about Facebook. We use social media as we supposed to use it. But ladies and gentlemen, hard work is what is going to take, and good common sense. And we do have also educated people with us. I am not ashamed in any shape or form of our present platform here in West Bay, because even with the lawyers on the other side, they have not accomplished what we have accomplished. And so, I want you and your family to remind everyone in your domain, in your neighborhood, give CDP the chance to finish the work that they started. Ladies and gentlemen, you that are from town or within hearing tonight, go to Georgetown, and you have Mike Adam, Jonathan Piercy, you have Tessa Borden, you have Dunstan Tibbetts, and you have Paulina McGaw-Lumsden. You give them a chance. Go and talk for them. They know what work is. They have worked in their neighborhoods. They have worked for the community. And we cannot do it alone down here. We need all of us. Go Bordentown, and you have Stafford Berry, and you have Robert Borden. But there are good independents that are not with us, but we recognize that they are good people, and we can work with them. Of course, we will try to work with whomever is elected, but you saw some of this already with this PPM. If it's not them, you're not going anywhere. So give those independents that we have said that we could work with. And so that is Kenneth Bryan, and that is Austin Harris in Georgetown, and Al Suku, and Mr. Tony Eden in Bordentown. You will have a good government from that group. We have promised to start work on our program within 10 to 100 days. We have to put education at the top. We will have to start that. And my next meeting, I'm going to talk about it and explain a little bit where we're going. But there needs to be a Tara Rivers only knew but glossy paper. That's all. And as I said, she can chat. But the results have not been good for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have to be able to move the economy so that we maintain good surpluses, so that we can build roads, so that we can build facilities that we need, so that we can give the senior citizens, the seamen of this country, and handicapped persons, and whatever veterans are left, $1,000 a month. They deserve it. We must give it to them. And ladies and gentlemen, we must look and revamp pensions because we have lost too much. And ladies and gentlemen, Tara Rivers can holler, squeal, whatever she wants to do. But the people that has to go back home, their money is theirs. We are not thieves, and we're going to give it back to them. There are many areas we have to move immediately on housing so that the low income can get a house, and so those that are losing can get them back or keep their house, and government is going to have to put up some money to do that. And then we are going to have to work with the banks to restructure whatever mortgages that they have. But you can believe they are going to understand that they must, not may, must do something about this situation. So God's willing, on May the 24th, please come out and give us your support wherever you are voting. Don't let them frighten you with how they have cut up this community. One piece here, one piece over there. Still go and vote straight for the CDP. Vote in the West or the North, you vote Bernie Bush. In Central West Bay, you vote Captain Eugene E. Banks. In West Bay South, where you make Tara Rivers keep going south, but you vote for John Jefferson Jr. And when you come to West Bay West, you give yours truly an X. And remember what I have said, that we are like the children of Israel. We are going out, we are going forward. We know the Egyptians are behind us, but we are going forward, and God will make a way. God is going to part the Red Sea, and the Egyptians will suffer. Good night, and God bless you all.